Today on Aging Untold, one fall can change it all.
I have seen people that will literally bedbound themselves. They could rehab, they could walk, but they're so afraid of going through it again, they don't even try.
We reveal the surprising truth about hip fractures and what can happen before you even hit the ground. Plus, the stress of dementia agitation.
They're too agitated, maybe you can just redirect them to something that's calming and soothing for them.
We'll share why it happens and strategies to restore calm and connection. Then, one woman recalls her living nightmare.
Call the bank and they says, yeah, there's a problem with your account. You're deceased.
How a government mistake nearly plunged her into financial ruin and the steps she took to restore her life. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Hip fractures affect up to 300,000 older adults each year in the U.S. These injuries can carry serious consequences like loss of independence and increased mortality within the year of the break. Dr. Ray, is there anything about hip fractures that some people might find surprising?
Well, I want them to think of it as a broken bone is more than just a broken bone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that go along with that come after the fact, and the mortality is high. Within the first year, there's about a 15% mortality of death, which is pretty devastating. The other thing is, why does it happen? You know, as people are getting older, they have nutritional deficiencies, those bones are getting weak. A big cause is osteoporosis, weakening of the bones, but falls because you're losing your strength, you don't have the muscles, and your balance is off, and it can be very, very devastating, and the decline is huge. It's very hard to come back from a fall, especially when you're older, because you don't tolerate surgery as well, you don't tolerate anesthesia. It's very easy to get septic, infections, everything is such more difficult.
Yeah. Like just a huge cascade of decline in events that can happen.
Downhill.
Right, I've always said it's not the fall that does the damage, it's what happens after the fall. So let's just, worst case scenario, you have a long lay because you don't have a fall alert. And so you've got to have a fall alert. I don't care if you live with someone else, have some kind of a fall alert button. But if you lay there, then you've got the damage from the long lay, you've got a broken bone, you can dehydrate, you can, all kinds of things go on. But once you go into the surgery, you've made it to the hospital, you go into the surgery, now you have anesthesia on board, you have chances of hospital delirium, which are high, pneumonias and infections. So then what happens is that emotional drainage and fear.
Yeah.
So instead of walking again, I have seen people that will literally bedbound themselves. They could rehab, they could walk, but they're so afraid of going through it again, they don't even try. And so they come out of the hospital, and instead of rehabbing out, they just choose to go to bed. And I've seen it.
Going to bed, staying in the chair, and now you're really creating more misery. I think when you get in that weak, fragile state, and rather than having the fortitude to think, what can we do to make this better?
I got a tip. You're in the hospital, you've broken your hip, and you have the option to get therapy. You can get it in the hospital. You get it at inpatient rehab hospital. It's more aggressive, 3 hours at a minimum per day. So if you can handle that kind of therapy, go for it. Or you can get it at a skilled nursing facility. So look on the Center for Medicare Advocacy website, get all the detail, each place that you can get therapy, but go ahead and take the more aggressive place to get the therapy so that it gives you a good leg up for the future. I had 2 people in my career opt out of hip surgery because they were so afraid of the anesthesia. Now, I'm not recommending that, but I'm saying it's that big a decision how you approach after you've broken your hip.
It's a valid fear too, because anesthesia on the elderly, depending on your genetic makeup, you'll start to see a decline there too as well.
Right. So, I've had a lady who never came back from hip surgery, and it had nothing to do with the surgery or the recovery. She came back walking, but she never recovered from the anesthesia and the delirium it created. So these are legitimate
Very
fears.
legit, yeah.
You can rehab in home too. There are home health agencies that'll come into the home and provide PT. You just have to be dedicated enough. You have to have that almost athletic mindset that says, you know what, you show me and I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So really, the hope is that we prevent the fall to start with.
Absolutely.
And
One thing I would add to that, following your lead about doing it at home, celebrate those little milestones.
Yeah.
If you've graduated from a walker to a quad cane, celebrate it. It takes longer than you want it to get your rehabilitation to get up. It takes longer. I've got a 92-year-old that I talked to the other day. It's been 4 months. She's now on a quad cane. I was blown away. I thought, good for you. She goes, oh, it's not good enough for me. I'm mad. And I said, well, let that rage work for you. You know?
I like
Well, I think
that.
it's really so important that the biggest key is prevention. You know, don't wait until it happens. You know, what can we do? Let's make sure there's no clutter. Let's make sure we have good lighting. Let's be working out. Let's get the muscle strength. Let's get that balance up.
Let's say that one more time. Make sure there's no clutter. Make sure there's plenty of lighting. What I
Plenty of
see
lighting.
all the time is that seniors are turning all the lights off in their house out of habit to save on the electric bill. This is no time.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you.
no time
We don't
to
need to
be
live in a
saving
cave.
on the light bulbs. Get the lights on. We need twice as much light, at least by the time we're 60, if not younger. One fall can change it all. And a misnomer is a lot of people think, oh, poor mom, she fell and broke her hip. A lot of times she broke her hip and then she fell.
And then she fell.
And so how can we hedge our bets? The environment is key. We need to make sure that we're living in a very safe, well-lit environment and that we are working our muscles. And there's nothing that prevents you from bringing in a fitness trainer, physical therapist, or OT. It doesn't necessarily have to be prescribed by a doctor. You need to take your health into your own hands, be your own best coach, your own best advocate.
Coming up, the government declares thousands of people dead by mistake each year, and it can be a financial nightmare. One woman's fight to prove she's alive, and what you need to know if it happens to you. But first, when a loved one with dementia becomes frustrated or upset,
And we're not here saying you're doing something wrong. We're saying, here are some things you can do in your environment.
we'll share practical ways to manage these moments of agitation.
Agitation is one of the side effects for people living with dementia. This behavior can also be challenging for families caring for a loved one with the disease. Sam, what are some of the common causes of agitation in dementia, and where should caregivers start when trying to manage it?
Well, so you got to understand that agitation itself is the brain waving a red flag. Something's wrong. I'm not just this irritated mess. It's I don't have the means of communicating what's going on inside of me. Maybe I'm hungry. Maybe I'm thirsty. Maybe I'm bored. Just simply bored. I'm lonely. Maybe I'm constipated, which is a huge one that people don't even think about. So you kind of got to start to put the puzzle pieces together, and you got to think, okay, if I'm going, maybe it's been a while since you've eaten, so let's try this. Let's try to bring the room down. Let's try and change the lighting and try and kind of make a calmer spirit. But do we need to eat? Do we need something to drink? Maybe I'm going to give you something to fold. We're going to have towels to fold. So there's a lot of things that you can do. It's not so much what to do as it's what not to do. And what not to do is huge. Do not argue.
And don't
do
correct
not
them.
correct. If you correct me, I'm going to defend myself till the cows come home.
I think you're just trying to understand the feeling behind the behavior.
Right.
They're trying to tell you something. It's not intentional. You know, you just have to, sometimes they talk about those 4 R's of dementia and the reassurance and the calming and reconsider and put yourself in their place and redirect them. If they're too agitated, maybe you can just redirect them to something that's calming and soothing for them that you're aware of, and then just try to get them to relax.
Yeah.
I would want to say, because I've heard a lot of people talk about, I've tried everything. If you're exhausted, you're tired, you're agitated, you're frustrated, we understand. And we're not here saying you're doing something wrong. We're saying, Here are some things you can do in your environment. Look at the natural light they're getting. What kind of routine are they on? How loud is the noise in the house? Is it something they can tolerate? Would music help or would it hurt? And what might work today won't work tomorrow. You know, you really have a decision, and you get your hopes up, and then you think it's going to work and it doesn't work, and then you're frustrated again.
But you can also have a toolkit, because the things that work today won't work tomorrow, but it might work next week.
Exactly.
So now you can just put a toolkit there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can also look for local resources, well, and frankly, online resources in addition to Aging Untold. Look for resources to get better ideas and better understanding of what's going on with your loved one. Local specialists may be able to provide some training and some support that you haven't thought of before. Just having a conversation with someone that understands can make an instant difference. Yeah. And then I was also going to say you could visit memory care communities depending on where you live. But if you're in a good sized city, there should probably be some really nice memory care communities that would be a great place to visit. You can ask about the training of the staff, how long the staff has been there, what kind of things do they do to address agitation.
I've learned so much from you guys, especially with my father. So when he gets agitated, I don't try to, just redirect. Yeah. And then when you do that, you know what? He starts smiling and laughing.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we want. We're learning from each other, and we're sharing with viewers. Please let us know what else you'd like for us to talk about. Let us hear how you're enjoying the show, and we'll be right back with Aging Untold.
Coming up, he was inspired by music at a young age, then taught himself to play 6 instruments all by ear.
I'm no stranger to the rain.
Coming up, how his story struck a chord all the way to the White House. But first, they were dead wrong.
Call the bank and they says, yeah, there's a problem with your account. You're deceased. And I was like, what?
We dig deeper into a government error impacting thousands every year and provide solutions to resurrect your life. You can follow Aging Untold on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now.
Each year, thousands of people are mistakenly declared dead by the federal government. The problem for those that are still alive, once the government says you're dead, your name is placed on the death master file and your accounts get locked down and payments stop. And for people who don't belong on the death master file, it can create a serious financial mess. Susan Campbell is in Phoenix speaking to one woman as she works to resurrect herself.
I don't even know. I've never seen so many zeros in my life.
It is a lot of zeros. A bank account negative $100 billion.
It was that one giant red number.
And it was the clue that Nana Radquitz had a problem.
Call the bank and they says, yeah, there's a problem with your account. You're deceased. And I was like, what?
Clearly she's alive and well. So what happened? Nana found out the Social Security Administration incorrectly listed her as dead.
I don't know where along this line this has happened or who, what, or why. It's just one number that could have been off on my Social Security number, when they put it in systems.
We wanted to learn more about how this could happen, so we reached out to the Social Security Administration. A spokesperson says every year about 3.1 million deaths are reported to the SSA by states, family members, funeral homes, federal agencies, and financial institutions. The vast majority of the time, those reports are accurate, but about 1/3 of 1% have to be corrected. Some quick math will tell you that's about 10,230 death reports that are wrong.
And it's scary. You go into panic mode.
The SSA says if you suspect you've been incorrectly listed as dead, go to your local Social Security office and be sure to have at least one current form of identification with you. Social Security says it will correct the error immediately and give you a letter confirming the correction.
Confirm that she is alive.
Then he used that letter to help her unravel the mess with her banks. One unlocked her account right away. The other doesn't have local branches, and it's taking a little more legwork.
I did everything I could do. I jumped through all your hoops. What more can I do to prove I'm not dead?
Wow, the fact that that could happen to 10,000 people a year,
right.
Yikes.
A year. This show is called Aging Untold, and I think this is one of the reasons why we have the show. Like, who would think you'd be declared dead and not have any money in your bank account. What do you do if you're living Social Security check to Social Security check?
You know, that's the terrible part of it. But then the good part is, do the bills quit coming if I'm dead? I'm curious. I know the money quits flowing, but do the bills quit coming
But
too?
did she get the life insurance?
And exactly. Well, it's $250 from Social Security. So did she get her $250 at least?
But it does tell you, have a backup plan, have a stash of money somewhere that's not in a bank.
But not everyone has the ability to have a stash
It's
of
true,
money.
it's true. But if you do something,
At
because
least a
this
roll
is
of
a scary,
pennies.
yeah, at least a roll of pennies.
$5 a month. Put it to
Well,
the side.
in some of my roles, what people do is hide money in their house in creative places. So that makes me a little nervous. But like my
yeah.
mother-in-law, I like her to have some cash so she feels like she can buy things for
totally-
sure. But
But what do you have
one
to do
thing people
legally?
start
Don't you have
hiding
to
money
go
in
to
their
court when they declare you dead? Don't you have to go through court and all that for the judge to redo it? And I mean, that's time.
Well, they said that the Social Security Administration would would say you're alive, but then
But then
you
you gotta
have
take
to
it to
go back
court.
to the bank, and then you have to go here, and
Right.
you have to go yonder. So
that takes time
It takes time.
It takes time, energy, effort, and
money.
money.
And they said it was immediate, but we all know with Social Security things aren't immediate.
How immediate is anything that goes on?
and then everything else. You just
and then everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, so what repercussions are going to come from this in the long run? And I'm still blown away that it's over 10,000 people a year. I get 3.1 pass away legitimately, but
and that one number could be entered wrong, human error, and there you go.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
We'll be
scary.
back with more on Aging Untold.
Up next, listening and learning.
And how many times have you surprised yourself?
Oh gosh, more than I can tell you.
A young man who was born blind inspires others through his music.
Music inspired him at a young age to overcome his disability. Angel Paez was born blind, but over time he taught himself to play 6 instruments all by ear. Natisha Lance is in Charlotte, showing us how Angel's now making music and his mark in the country and bluegrass scene.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3.
Angel Paez, who was born blind, began his fascination with music as a toddler at church.
I remember listening to all those different instruments and being so curious as to what they looked like, what they felt like, and I wanted to know how to play. I'm no stranger to the rain.
The music gave him a feeling he'd never felt before.
It made me feel like I could never get enough of it, like something so cool and so different and new that made me want more. Hotter than a pepper.
So he started teaching himself to play. First the piano, then the accordion and violin. Over time, he learned to play 6 instruments all on his own, by ear. It didn't take long for others to recognize Angel's raw talent too.
They entered me into my first radio contest. It was a Spanish radio station here in town, and that was kind of my first real motivation to play and get good enough to be on stage.
Angel won that contest and later even performed at the White House.
That more than anything gave me the kind of the spark, if there ever was one, to pursue the music.
And if that wasn't enough, the Carolina Country Music Awards nominated Angel for Musician of the Year and Best Fiddler of the Year twice.
My dream is to just be able to make a living out of it. I know I'm not going to get rich, but I just want to have enough to, take my family out to dinner every now and then have enough to be able to call my connections and say, hey, let's let's go do this project.
Angel says he's always pushing himself despite sometimes having those intrusive thoughts of self-doubt.
I never know what I'm gonna get into until I try it.
And how many times have you surprised yourself?
Oh gosh, more than I can tell you. I'm pretty shy by nature, and I think that's what holds me back sometimes. But a lot of times when I encounter that success, whether that be in music or just life in general, it feels good. It feels like I can literally go out and do anything.
I tell you what I missed was that he didn't play the fiddle in that piece, because they said he had won the fiddle contest, and I'm like, I love a fiddle. And I was like, but I mean, he didn't just play, he actually had a really good voice, because there was once he was singing Vince Gill, and I was like, that's on par right there. So he was talented around.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if you wanted more information, you could find it online and listen to play the fiddle online.
I'd like to hear him play the fiddle, so we got to look him up.
In Charlotte.
Probably one of my favorite things was what he wanted was to make a living and to take his family to dinner.
Yeah, I'm not going to get rich,
but
I
I don't want to win an award. I want to take my family to dinner.
And the ability to keep doing his work, keep doing his projects. So absolutely love it. So inspiring. And you know what? We're all getting older, and it's about time we talked about it. Until next time on the next Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold.
Estrangement is one of the most difficult things for older adults to live with.
For many people, a strong family bond isn't what it used to be. We'll dig into the complex issues surrounding family estrangement and why so many people are cutting ties.